How's it going, everybody? This is DB. This is DB After Dark. This is the fifth show or fourth? I think it's the fourth show we're doing with my co-host L Deeds. L Deeds, how are you doing?
Hello, DB. Nice to hear your voice again.
Well, it is July the 13th. It's 2 days after Bernie endorsed Hillary but does not concede. That's going to take up a lot of this show. The show is going to be kind of a lot of those ramifications of playing the political game or the trying to install a political revolution. It's not a physical revolution. It's not even necessarily an intellectual revolution. It's simply us trying to use the current framework the way it was intended to be used, and that's to provide more for the people and smaller government and less power for centralized government like it was intended.
Well, I disagree that it's not a physical revolution. Anyone who's been watching anything the past, I don't know when they shared the film of that most recent murder. It's hard to even talk about this stuff, honestly. But it is physical.
Well, that's true. People are going to be coming out in droves, we hope, to the DNC. We're gonna see what happens. We can expect a big turnout, but we can only hope. If Bernie does go and he tries to contest, a la FDR, taking Al Smith out, who I think we can research into was definitely an interesting guy. Some would say an affiliated guy in certain scenes. And FDR, he kind of used some interesting tactics to sway people, and he was a populist president too. He was a socialist president, a democratic socialist, and people need to understand the difference between that and pure socialism, where the government just takes over, a la Venezuela, and the military backs up the decisions of the ruling elite. Now, in a real democratic socialist society, it would function much like a republic because, yes, there would be centralized powers, but what we could do is we could really knock those down to a state level, and we could have less centralized power that way and have the people of the local communities through delegates basically tell people what they want done with their resources and not leave it up to this huge overreaching Fed.
I hate to be a spoiler, but I did a little homework, and this does not address the body of your remark. It addressed the opening of your remark. It's my understanding that Roosevelt did not endorse Smith, not the year they ran against each other anyhow.
So is this basically a misnomer going around then?
Well, it refers to a series of events instead of one particular event. And the fact is that Roosevelt wasn't nominated until 1932, but he was in the party before then, and he did do speechifying, campaigning, and endorsing of his ultimate competitor. But when he did it, they were not in competition. We're talking 1924.
And we all know kind of that FDR ended up serving 2.5 terms before he passed. And, of course, major world events broke out, to say the least. But there was a time when he was trending somewhere in the range of like a 70 or 80% approval rating, which is almost unheard of. Because the common man had, literally one of the highest living standards in the modern world at that time. In America, you had an ability to go get a good job and provide for your family and have a nice place and food on the table, and all of a sudden the market crashed. So things happen, man. It was a crazy, tumultuous time for sure, and it's similar to now. It's just now we have these quantitative easings where money pops out of thin air and pays for our debt. Otherwise, right now we'd be seeing the gutting of social services and maybe another depressionary era type of reaction from the public.
Hello? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, Al Deeds.
Well, that's good, because I'm here to again dispute your timeline for your last remark. He ran for FDR ran for the nomination in 1932. The catastrophe for the ordinary man was already underway in 1932. He did not ride a wave of prosperity which I believe is what you just referred to. In fact, that actually came after his lifetime. Certainly, the build-up to the war meant that most everyone could get a job who couldn't before, who was hireable under the standards of the day at that time. Do we have a guest calling in?
No, but we are going to tag in Asa. I think we can get him on the line now. Let's see here. We'll see if Asa can chime in here. He's a delegate going to Philly, hopefully, and we'll see if he picks up here. But otherwise, that's what we're going to go into now. Is we're going to go into essentially what's going to happen with the DNC and what are some of our plans. We're going to be there. And what are some of the plans of the party? Because seeing Bernie acquiesce like that, I know it killed him. You could see his body language. You could see he was red in the face. It was crazy to see him up on stage like that. And, again, he did not concede. He did endorse. He more or less, what he did was just bash Trump most of the time up there and talk about his own platform. And then we saw Parrot Hillary mimic the entire thing with him behind her, almost like he was this puppet master pulling her strings. It was eerie to see.
The whole thing was so surreal. I really thought I might have been in the Matrix. I mean, his endorsement of her speechifying, which sounded like he'd written it, it distorted reality for me to watch that embrace occur. But there are things to talk about in terms of strategy for the delegates, their fight, what it looks like now, because let's contextualize the delegates. They have the sacred empowerment to vote for so many of us. The fight is not over when we talk about the platform at a minimum.
Yes. I mean, I think we have a call coming in now here. Let's see. Caller from 361. This is DB. Who do we have calling in now?
DB, my name is Michael. I'm calling you from South Texas.
Hi, Michael. How are you doing? Are you, by any chance, talking with the Open the Primary activities or with L. Deeds by chance?
I'm sorry, could you say that one more time?
Were you, by chance, calling in to speak regarding anything to do with Open the Primary activities or the Democratic National Convention?
Absolutely. I think that if you put your faith into these liar, jokers, bastard thieves anymore, you're fooling yourself. I don't think Bernie Sanders is the one. I don't think Jill Stein is the one. I don't think Hillary is the one. I don't think Trump is the one. They are all liars. They are all liars after your pocketbook and after your children's lives. And you cannot deny that.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, we do need to basically hold these.
If you can't agree with me, War, then why are you guys continuing to endorse the system that is screwing everybody? There's no more working within the system if you've got any kind of hope for doing anything. This thing is not set up for you and I to win. It's not a broken system. This system works exactly like it's supposed to work.
Michael, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I'm an optimist, and I'm a believer in that if the people take their power, the system can be forced to work correctly.
Can I ask you how long you've been an optimist?
Oh, since about that time I arrived on this planet, and I've seen plenty of things to convince me otherwise, and certainly this election has done nothing except embitter all of us.
Do you think that this system is, number one, is a fair system? Number two, is a system that you have any sort of recompense in? Can you appeal to the system to right the wrong when it's the system that's wronging you?
I believe there are two parts to the answer, and one is that the system is made up of people, and that still, as of this moment, we have a vestige of ability to get into the DNC, into the Democratic Party, to run for office, to take a position of integrity within it. I agree completely. It's corrupted, it's foul, it's toxic, but it's people.
And I hate to disagree with you, but everything you just described is a gigantic waste of time. And if you doubt me, we can look at Bernie Sanders. All right, he's the outsider candidate who was in office for 30 years. Sanders, but everybody thought that he was the one. He was the hope, and he went out and he gave it to Hillary. Look at how many people phone banked. Everybody come up with $27 to give to this dude, and then he sold you out.
I can't disagree with that, and I can't explain why that happened. But what I can say is that there's
all politicians. That is why it happened. They are all politicians, and their job is to screw you.
I'm going to bring the focus back to our delegates, sir. I'm going to talk about our almost 2,000 delegates who are going to fight on the floor for a voice in our government.
Let me ask you one more question. Of those 2,000 delegates, do you think if you took every dollar they had in their pockets, they would come up and they would match one donation from Goldman Sachs or Citibank or J.P. Morgan?
Well, when we talk about the influence of money, we're talking about the very arrow in the heart of our democracy. And
it's the whole thing. And actually, it's not even about the money because the money's fake. It's about controlling your debt. They create enough debt and you become the slave. You have no other choice but to become the slave.
That's true. I mean, I would not argue against that. Some of the things that Bernie was trying to champion are things that we should be kind of expecting out of a federal.
Bernie Sanders is a part of the machine. He worked there for 30 years. He voted for every war act except for the last Gulf War.
DB, we've got. Do we have a delegate from the floor fight for the platform? I just don't want to discount our guests.
No, I mean we do. We're trying to get in touch with a few of these people, but yeah, thank you very much, Michael, for your.
Thanks. I appreciate you. I appreciate you guys' effort, and I really hope you keep it up. But I really hope you guys do look at the reality of this thing. That working within the system no longer works. You're going to have to think outside the box.
That's valid. Outside the box is the only way forward because we've seen how these codes and laws.
Outside the box in the United States means violence. And honestly, I'm not advocating violence. I'm just saying that's what works in this country.
But there's
and I mean, if you want to doubt me, look at the difference between Boston and Dallas. Boston, it was a gigantic police state, and these guys were walking around with their chests puffed out, and they were the man. They were in charge. In Dallas, they were scared shitless. And it was because somebody took the fight back to them.
That's true, and it's a heavily armed state as opposed to Massachusetts. So, yeah, I mean, we're going to see that breakdown.
Yeah, but it was only one guy. But it was only one guy with one rifle. One guy with one rifle.
Well, true, although they did arrest several other people. So, I mean, we'll see what happens with that. I have no clue about what happened to those people.
Well, I'll tell you what. The truth lies in the action of the police, and they were scared. They were crying. They were bleeding. They sent in a bomb-carrying robot. Now, if you compare that to shutting down the entire city of Boston, everybody stay in your house because we got two dudes that the FBI has been involved with for years. Notice there's been no claim of FBI involvement with this guy.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, he came out of nowhere, and, you know, it's similar to the Orlando shooting, too, where the guy was heavily trained and knew what he was doing. I mean, at the point where you see the video where the guy
in Orlando had FBI. He had FBI contacts.
Oh, yeah.
He had his dad was, yeah. Those are pretend. Those are pretend. This thing that happened in Dallas was real because the cops bled, the cops cried, the cops died. And if you really want to get into it, let's start talking about the chief of police in Dallas, David Brown. His son killed a Dallas police officer. His brother is a crack dealer. This is not disputable. These are facts. So, I mean, we're being lied to, and really start reading between the lines because what's printed out there for all of us to read is not actually what it is.
That's true. There's a war brewing between the lines, and we can see it. We can see it bubbling up. I mean, we'll see what happens. Thanks a lot,
all right,
Michael.
Guys, thanks a lot. You guys have a good night.
Thank you.
You too. Thanks, Mike.
And we have another caller from the 702 area code. This is DB with DB After Dark featuring L Deeds. Who are we speaking with?
This is Jason, Phoenix FX.
Jason, how's it going?
Hey, everybody.
Hey, it's great to hear you again. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm just heading home from work.
Another long day for you, and if I'm right, you're getting ready for Philadelphia.
Yes, I am. I've got my flight booked. I got my lodging squared away. I've got just about all of my gear. Yeah, I'm definitely going.
Now, can I ask, under what hat are you going?
I will be broadcasting, but unfortunately, the person that was going to be sponsoring me to be in the convention itself had her credentials denied, so she can't sponsor me, and I haven't found anyone to replace a sponsorship. So I'll be outside during the day among the protesters and at the rallies.
Valuable and important. I'd like to talk with you later about your list of gear. I feel like I should be cross-referencing on that point.
Sure.
Do you know if I understand your credential was through Miss Ashley, who also streamed from Nevada Convention. Is she getting inside, or was it both of you who were cut out?
We were both cut out. As she put it, she had posted some things that some videos that the DNC were not too fond of and decided to deny her credentials request.
It's my understanding there's a two-phase background check, and the first is the DNC, and the second is the Secret Service. Do you know how far you got?
I do not.
Did you know there was a second level from the Secret Service?
I was not aware of that. When I spoke to her, she basically said that the DNC denied her on the grounds that she had posted a video recently that was not favorable to the DNC. So they, as she put it, they banned her from the convention.
I would love to read that email.
Text, but I can probably get copies.
I would find that fascinating and hopefully providing a bit of insight, because as far as I know, this is not the only alt media, small media request which has been confirmed and then denied. So there's a pattern, not a new pattern, cutting out the little guy, cutting out the small voice.
Not surprisingly.
I understand also that you've been following up on your mission to educate the delegates. Did you want to give that some oxygen?
Sure. I have a Google Drive set up that I've made public with all the charter and bylaws for the National Convention and the delegate selection plan, which are basically the list of rules of who can be there and how they can be delegates and the like. Sorry, I'm driving at the same time here. I've also got some information about parliamentary procedure, a short list of Robert's rules and some similar things like that, as well as a YouTube playlist I've put together so that people, the delegates especially, can learn the basics of Robert's rules and parliamentary procedure and how to use them, various strategies that they can use to make sure that they're just not getting bulldozed when they're at the convention. They can actually make changes. They can create motions, fight against motions that they don't believe in, and alter motions that they're mostly okay with but want to adjust. It's a really important part that I think a lot of the delegates don't realize they even have the power to do, and I want to make sure that what happened in Nevada and New York, Arizona, doesn't happen in Philadelphia. I want our people to go in there with a game plan and organization and the education to understand what they can actually accomplish rather than just be a butt in a seat.
And Jason, this is DB. How's it going? I think we're joined by actually a delegate. Ace, are you on?
I am. I'm here.
All right, perfect. I'll leave it up to you to kind of chime in. You know, a lot of the things going on with the delegates have been talked about. How you were privy to the call from Bernie, were you not?
I was. I missed part of it, and actually, one of your other guests was able to capture it. So I was catching up, right before I called in. But yeah, I listened to it.
And can you give us any of the details? I don't think anybody's leaked any of that, and probably won't, because
Right.
You're talking about people that are going to Philly, and they are going to be counted. But was that the gist of it, basically, to just go be counted because we are going to attempt an FDR here?
there's going to be a roll call for sure, and I have heard that his name is going to be entered into nomination, and so therefore he hasn't released his delegates. So we're all going. I'm not a full-fledged delegate like I think your other caller is. I'm an alternate, so it just depends on whether or not someone can't serve on the floor before I even have the credentials enough to be on the floor. But if I were, then my duty would be to vote on matters of obviously platform that comes up at the convention that hasn't been handled before, as you've talked about, and then vote for Bernie Sanders. Period. For the nomination.
Asa, and this is to you as well, Jason. Jason's done this magnificent volunteer work of putting together this, let's call it a cheat sheet, or a short guide to what will occur inside the building. Have you had a chance to look at that? Have you received any kinds of educational materials from the campaign? I'm kind of wondering where that's at in terms of general education for our delegates.
Right. I have seen emails where it's kind of general information, nothing like Jason has done. So kudos to you, Jason. And I'm a former county party chair here in Wilson County in North Carolina, so I'm familiar with Robert's rules. I'm familiar with how the Democratic Party handles things, and I'm prepared once I go in to use those to my advantage if I'm on the floor. And again, that's an big if. But yes, what he put together is very helpful. I think that all, approximately 1,900 delegates should have those in their hands, whether it's a phone or an actual printed copy, depending on what they prefer, as they go in there and just be well versed on it. In fact, once you roll into town, maybe you should, as an icebreaker, like meet each other and then sit in the lobby wherever you are and just kind of read over that and ask questions of each other. And just educate each other, because that's kind of what the political revolution, this movement, this campaign has been about, is leaning on each other, educating each other, and inspiring each other. So, and that's what Jason has done with his body of documents that I've seen.
Yeah, and I'd like to point out one of the things that we need to do most is to organize as a group. That's the establishment's done a really good job of breaking us up, especially with what happened yesterday. More than anything, if we can come together and create a game plan, a plan of action when we get into the convention and hold to that and actually work together as one large entity, we can make a significant difference.
Right.
And where does that cutoff point come? I mean, how much do they shred the platform before people realize that we're distinctly different animals? Or do we just hold out hope that Bernie can salvage the DNC, and if not, then hope, by all hopes, he'll maybe go green, maybe something drastic happens?
Well, I can say with what happened in Nevada while we were working on the platform there, the Bernie supporters held out and pushed hard against the clause about the superdelegates, and unfortunately, there weren't enough people there that truly knew how to make the change. Ideally, we would have done an amendment to the motion and adjusted the wording in that particular portion of the platform, but we did successfully get the superdelegate portion of the platform struck from the platform through really just sheer willpower. So at national, there's no reason that we can't, if we're stubborn enough and we know how to do it, get in there and make changes to the platform before it's ratified.
That's inspiring. And when we talk about the platform, we're talking about rules that would apply in the next 4 years. I'm looking for a little education on not only the platform process, but when the platform becomes applicable.
The platform is essentially the plan that the Democratic Party and their candidates are supposed to fight for. It's the set of how would I put this? Our ideals, what we believe in, what we want to bring to the House and the Senate, what we want our bills to be based around. It's not a specific set of bills per se, but it's things like we do not want to support the TPP. We do want to support LGBTQ rights. Things like that, just general ideas of what we believe in and what we want all of our constituents, all of our congressmen and women, our senators, and the president to fight for.
Now, I believe we're joined by Jason Lee from 317 area code. Am I right?
Yes.
Now, LD, you've been talking with Jason. Now, what has Jason been up to as far as activities surrounding what's been going on?
Well, Jason and I were on the same conference call last night for Watch the Vote USA. I don't know if you heard me, but I heard you, Jason. And what your engagement has been was called inspiring on that call. And I think that a little oxygen should be given to your funding of the delegates as a corporate entity, and also, of course, your position as a Hawaiian delegate.
Was that a question, LDs? I think Jason must be waiting.
I'm so sorry. Of course, the question is, you became a delegate. When did you start working on the Fund the Delegates? But I guess before that, I'd ask you for your comment on the endorsement yesterday. It's painful to talk about, but it must be addressed.
Was that a cue to Jason again, LDs? Jason Lee? Too many people on the line here.
Sometimes in trying to be brief, I'm not clear.
Jason Lee, do we still have you? Okay, Jason Lee, do we have you?
Yeah.
LDs, you're going to have to ask again. What was the question you're asking Jason Lee?
Well, I guess we're kind of downloading the impact. Hi, Jason. We're kind of downloading the impact of the endorsement yesterday, and of course, what that might do to the delegate ground game. And it's my understanding through our shared conference call with Watch the Vote USA and DB that you are part of a corporate effort to get the delegates funded and on a similar page or on the same page. So the question is the response to the endorsement and its impact on the ground game as you understand it as a delegate organizer. Am I doing it wrong?
I guess, are we asking a question to Jason Lee? Jason Lee may not be able to hear us very well. I don't know.
So is it Jason Lee or Jason Eno? We got two Jasons here, so we got to make sure we're talking the right one.
Eno. All right, so we have Jason Llanes, who's put together the delegate short sheet, and we have Jason Eno, who's working on delegate funding in like a corporate way for not just himself, but as many as that can be found. So in terms of directing the conversation, Jason Eno, welcome. Jason Llanes, glad you're here. Asa, thanks for sticking around.
Right on.
We're downloading right now, I think, the delegate response as individuals to the endorsement. And Jason Eno, as an organizer of other delegates, I'm asking if there is even a response strategically, corporately, to the endorsement. Question mark. It's a big question, and I understand if it's hard to digest in terms of strategy. And I also don't know if I'm not being heard.
You're being heard.
Okay. So yeah, it is a big question, and perhaps not fair to ask. We're all stumbling after yesterday. DB knows that I've been breathing for the Sanders campaign. And I think most of us on this call feel similarly. So I guess asking for that response in terms of strategy, ground game on the floor, might be unfair, but it's something we could unpack a little bit in this conversation. We've got 4 people going to the event, 2 people getting inside definitely. So I guess I'm sort of throwing that up for general comment.
And it appears we also have a caller from 808. 808, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. This is Jason Eno from Hawaii, the 808 space.
There's Jason Eno.
Here I am.
All right. Well, LD, we were asking, I'm not sure who on the line, these questions, and you're going to have to ask them again. Jason, we we have
Yeah, I was listening in. So.
Terrific. So, having heard the several reiterations of those questions, do you have any comment? And again, recognizing it's a big question, like what is the ground game?
It's what's most interesting here, I feel, is that things are changing so rapidly. It seems like every day something new is added to the equation, and frankly, there's a lot of misinformation, either through misunderstandings or through actual misdirection. And I think that holds true in politics pretty much everywhere you go. You might not get a straight answer even from the people on your side because they can't give you a straight answer. So as far as ground game, I think that we need to be flexible, organized, capable of communicating, and flexible. And the part that I am most curious about, I would say, is who is calling the shot. Ultimately, the delegates will need to take action. And will the delegates be calling the shots, or will the campaign be calling the shots, or will the DNC be trying to call the shots? Of course, they'll be trying to call the shots. And it's a matter of how engaged we can be as a group.
Absolutely. I mean, it's going to be exactly what's the turnout, how many people are going. We're going, me and LDs are going. We're going to go document it. She's trying to get a press pass to get in there. I may work my own ground game on the outside and see what happens among the protest groups, because I know there's going to be plenty of those. And it should be an interesting 1968 flavored good time, I think, unless they make some major concessions in the platform, which it looks like they're already fighting against, which is just ridiculous. I know we're gonna pull in Lena Danger. LDs, I know you've been talking to Lena all day. We're gonna pull her in now, and anybody feel free at any time to chime in. Pretty much, we'll have basically an open roundtable discussion. We're gonna pull Lena in though. LDs, if you want to go in, I'm gonna connect her now. If you want to kind of introduce the audience to her and some of our other guests.
Well, I wouldn't dare fully introduce her, but I'll contextualize her voice right now by saying if you saw that very moving dispatch that it's on SoundCloud, I believe, and her YouTube, she just posted as a delegate who'd been fighting on the floor for our platform, and there were a number of dismaying items that she gave oxygen to, not least of which being the Unity Amendment, which I have a number of questions about, and it's a great pleasure to have her with us. Are you with us?
We may need her to give us a call, so let me let her know that. I think we have too many people on the line here to add into any more group discussion.
Oh. All right. How many callers can we have?
I don't know. We're probably pushing bandwidth. Who knows? I'm hosting, so you know how it goes with this computer. All right. Looks like we have Lena. Lena, how are you doing tonight? This is DB.
I'm on, but I need to turn off the other. I was listening, so I need to turn that off. Hold on one second.
No problem.
Okay, I think I'm on now.
Yes, you are.
Perfect. Pleasure
to have you on. LDs, go right ahead and get into the meat of it, because I know you've been talking to Lena today about her. I have to say, her verbal rampage. It was great.
Well, I have watched Lena, your feeds, your videos, and I was really moved by you and your reportage from this gut punch, as you called it, on the floor over the weekend. Probably like most people who weren't there, it's unclear to me how you particularly took part in the platform fight. Can we start there? How did you find yourself there?
Okay, well, first of all, I'm a committee member, platform committee member. There's 3 different committees. There's rules, there's credentials, and there's platform. Platform, we had to meet last weekend because there's still work to be done to put it all together, to have it ready for the convention. Rules and credentials, they're going to meet like Saturday and Sunday right before the convention. But anyway, I was appointed. Committee members are appointed. And the reason why they knew about me is because I ran as a delegate in my congressional district and I lost. But I didn't lose. There just wasn't enough slots. They knew me. I've been out there, text for Bernie, journey for Bernie, all kinds of stuff. And then I was also going to try to run as an at-large delegate, but they asked me if I wanted to be on the committee instead. And I jumped at it because platform has always been something that I've always been interested in every time that there's a convention. So that's basically what happened. Now, as far as, since I'm just a committee member, I don't actually vote on the floor, but I will have access to the floor. From what I understand, the committee members will sit like in a separate section. We won't be sitting like with the states.
This process is so mysterious, at least to me. I watched, I believe it was your footage of the TPP vote earlier today, or at least the speechifying in defense of and against. And there was something so 19th century about just you stand up and pontificate, but it's still not transparent.
No, it is. It's transparent. There are rules, and the rules were adopted, when we got there. We had proposed rules that they sent beforehand. So basically, the way the platform works is there's 3 steps. You have a 15-member subcommittee. That's the committee that you guys saw before that actually drafted the platform. And before they draft the platform, they actually have hearings throughout the country, in different parts of the country, where you can make testimony either in person or by writing or whatever. So the 15 members was, let me forget the numbers right. I think it was 5 Bernie people, 6 Hillary people, and 4 DNC. So we all know the DNC, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, that just means 4 lobbyists. So
yeah.
So that's why when they had the platform fights for the draft itself, we lost on a few issues, but we knew that we weren't done because the full platform committee met last weekend. Now that's 187 people. And how that worked out was 70 Bernie people, 86 Hillary, and 25 DNC. Now, to win, we would need, I think it was 92 votes. So that means that we would have had to have something like that. It was 90 votes or something. We needed 20 of the other side to vote with us to pass amendments. So basically, again, so you got this draft. They send us a draft, and to amend the draft, only committee members can do that. So we got the draft like July 1st, and we worked on it over the weekend because we had like a deadline of Tuesday at 2:00 to get it into the campaign, and then midnight of Wednesday to get it into the DNC. So the campaign wanted to see them, of course, beforehand, because there's a bunch of us. There's 70 of us throwing in hundreds. They said they got hundreds of amendments from us. I put in 16 myself. And it wasn't just me. I need to give credit to Texas Prep, and I can never remember their acronym, but it's something about some progressive enactment of the something platform. So anyways, I jumped in and helped them, and we worked together, and because they had the wrong format, blah, blah, blah. So I helped them with the format, and we worked on the issues that we thought we could go for. And so that's what I submitted. But basically what happened was 3 of them got accepted to go for a vote, and 2 of them got put in what they called the managers something or other. It's like a separate group of amendments that they're not so controversial. They're things that we can, that the campaigns can talk about and maybe just say, yeah, put it in. And that's what they do on the side. So there's a lot of amendments that you didn't even see on C-SPAN. The only ones that you see are the ones that are controversial that we need to have both sides agree to. And that was 232 amendments. That's what we ended up having to work on this past week. Okay, so it was crazy. The first night, Friday night, we were there. We were up till 2 a.m. We actually didn't start doing any business till about 10:30 p.m. Just because of the way things. I don't know what was going on. I think that there was a lot of campaign negotiations happening because, they're trying to get rid of some of these so we don't have to go through all of them. So they're doing some negotiation behind the scenes. I think that's what delayed our start. I'm not sure. And then the next day we worked until like 12:30 a.m. And then at 1 a.m. was when you guys was when I made my video. So anyways, what I was going to say real quick about the rules, there are rules. So basically how it works is they read the amendment. There's this woman that she read every single amendment for the 2 days. So we gave her a big hand of applause at the end. So she reads the amendment, and then you get the person that brought the amendment forward gets 1 minute to say something about their amendment. And then after that, 15 people have to second the amendment before we continue. So they read it, then I say blah, blah, blah. And then they go, are there 15 seconds? And we all put up we were like just putting up a piece of paper that they could count. And if there's 15, then you're allowed to proceed to the debate. And it's 5 minutes pro and 5 minutes against, with the pro going first. And that 5 minutes can be used in any way. I could have used my whole 5 minutes on the amendments that I had, but basically I had other people that wanted to speak. So they would come in and they would just say their blurb, and we would just use that 5 minutes until it was up. And then the anti side would use their 5 minutes until it's up. And then once you're done with that, then you have the vote. Okay, so the first way that we do the vote is just with holding up a piece of paper. So they'll say all in favor, raise your hands. So we raise our hands with the piece of paper. All opposed, we raise our hands. If it's very obvious, like unanimous, that's it, you're done. But if it's not obvious and it looks like half and half, then we call for a roll call vote. And that's when we would use these little clickers, and they would put up on the big screen, and we get 30 seconds to put in our vote. And it had everybody's name on these big screens. So as you're voting, you could see your vote. But you can't really see it because it's so tiny. But you couldn't see the people's names. But anyway, so you would have like the yay was green and nay was red, and then you have abstain. And so we would watch this thing going up, 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 and if we wanted to win, we're like, come on, come on, come on. And of course, all of our supporters were sitting in the back. We had a lot of Bernie supporters that came as guests and sat through the whole thing with us, the whole thing. And so they're like, come on, come on, come on. And they're like, what are you guys? Are you Democrats? Because we didn't win. We didn't win on some of these big issues. So really, to give you the issues that we won on, if it was controversial, we won on what we call a unity amendment. And that's where the campaigns or whoever sat together and they said, okay, this is the wording that we are okay with. Let's put this up for a vote. And that's what happened with the TPP. Kind of. Lee Saunders put up this really long amendment. And basically what he said was, it has everything in here to say that if it's like this, if you try to pass anything that looks like this, we don't support it. And so then Ben Jealous said, well, then I want to add a secondary amendment that says, okay, then we do not support the TPP. That's what he wanted to add, just those few words. Well, so when you have a secondary amendment, you vote on that first, then you go back to the primary. So Ben did his thing. Everybody talked. That's what you were seeing on the thing that I did. First they were talking about Ben's few little words that he wanted to add that said, therefore, we are against the TPP. That was the only words he wanted to add. Well, we voted and we lost. Okay. Again, because we only had 70 and we needed 20 people to come along with us. So then after that, then we voted on the Lee Saunders amendment. And of course, this Lee Saunders guy, he's like, union, blah, blah, blah. So there's a lot of unions that were okay with this language, whatever. And of course, the Hillary folks and the DNC folks outnumbered us. So that passed. Then later in the day, we tried to do another amendment, and it was Lee Hightower. He's the guy with the cowboy hat.
Yeah, the good guy. I saw his hat.
He is so cool. He's just so funny. And he's like, if you're not at the table, then you're the dinner or something like that. You're the meal.
A real character.
He's a real character. He had jeans on and everything. He was cool. So anyways, he tried to do his amendment. And again, we did an up or down vote and we lost. So we do have language in there about the TPP, sort of about the TPP like. Anything TPP like, we don't like, but we just couldn't say that, which was very strange. So that's what we got, and that's why Bernie wasn't very happy with that. He really wanted us to say no TPP in the actual amendment and not this whole gobbledygook of amendment that we got. And then it was the same kind of thing with the 15. So the draft people, the 15 folks that had drafted it, they said 15, but they did not make it a national wage. It was kind of like, like, okay, California, yeah, you guys, that kind of thing. So then what happened with the full platform was that we wanted to push a national wage, and we also wanted to say by 2020. Well, the unity part of it was that we took out the by 2020 and we put overtime.
Oh, God.
And you can see all this on, if you go to demconvention.com/platform, you can find the YouTube videos of both days. And you'll see that Nina Turner, I think it was difficult for her, but she did what she had to do. We got that in there. We got the national wage. That's what we really wanted. We just didn't get a specific time. We got an overtime. So things like that. That's what this was. It was very interesting. It was. Oh, and we won the marijuana vote for which includes a path towards legalization. We won that by like one vote. And don't you know, they wanted to argue about that and say that we didn't win. And they kind of had an argument because we have 187 members, but we only have 183.25 worth of votes because of places like Guam that don't get a full vote. So they wanted to go through the roll call vote, I guess, and see if it was Guam that was on our side and then say, you guys didn't get a full vote. You don't win, But
wow.
Anyways, yeah, so we had to go through a lot of rigmarole with that. We had to recess for a bit, and the campaigns were back and forth. And finally, they just said, "Screw it, you guys won." So we got that into the platform by one vote.
Out of curiosity, was that the last vote?
No, that wasn't the last vote. No, it was like I said, we had 232 amendments to go through. So some of them were withdrawn, but they kind of go, amendment number 45 has been withdrawn, and then number 65, and then so and so would do their thing. So,
can you name one that was given up in the negotiation?
Oh, well, the thing is, I can't, because when they withdraw them, it doesn't mean that they're totally withdrawn. It just means that they may have been put on this other list that gets negotiated behind the scenes. It's kind of like tabling it, but it's not done.
Over time, shall we say?
No, that was a unity amendment. That was it. No, I mean, like, okay, so one of mine was, I had a death penalty amendment. They had already said that we're against the death penalty, but my wording added more, which I don't have in front of me real quick, but it added more. It said things like, it's cruel and unusual, it costs way too much money, and it doesn't prevent recidivism or something like that. And so we didn't have to go to vote on that one. It actually was talked about in this manager thing, and they came up and told me. They said, Lena, we're going to withdraw your amendment, and that's because we accepted it. So withdraw isn't a bad thing.
We're coming up on the last 10 minutes here, Lena. I'd like to open the floor to either Jason, Eno, Jason Llanes, Asa, anybody. There's a round table to ask Lena, who's really in the guts of things now, any kind of questions you might have. And, of course, you too, LDeeds. So we'll kind of keep it moving and get some other voices in here, and we'll try to end the show out here the last 8 minutes.
Sharing as much information as possible. That's a great idea, DB. Do our other delegates and activists on the call want to throw their conversation in the ring, get a roundtable going?
Lena, this is Jason Llanes in Las Vegas site. I won't be on the convention floor, but I'm trying to educate everybody that will be as much as possible, and I want to make sure that everyone's organized and has a plan going forward when they're in there. As far as when the platform goes up for ratification, is there anything that you would recommend that we have our delegates particularly fight for? What can they fight for?
Okay, so I don't know what you guys can do on the floor. I know that we did not file the minority reports, which really made me kind of sad, but they did that. We found out about it right before the endorsement, right before Bernie endorsed her. So the minority reports, those we were going to do like 5 or 6 amendments that we're going to try to get, that we were going to push onto the floor, and you have to file those within 48 hours of the end of the platform meeting. So that time has gone and passed. No, if there is anything else that can be done on the floor, but the process of the minority reports is not going to happen.
As a layperson, I'm sorry to jump in. Does that mean no fight, or what does that mean?
It means that Bernie feels like we got as much as we could get, and he didn't think that it would look good. I think basically we got a lot. I mean, it is the most progressive platform ever. It just isn't all the stuff that we wanted, and he didn't want to fight, I think, because he decided to endorse. However, there may be floor fights about the rules. That's another thing, and the rules have to do with how the Democratic Party is going to operate going forward. Super delegates, open primaries, that kind of stuff. So there may be floor fights on that. But as far as the platform is done, from what I understand, it's done.
So we're trying to take it back to what the roots were supposed to be finally.
What do you mean? I mean, it's just
open representation, open voting has always been, something that the Democratic Party had prided itself on, or at least fought for.
Well, that's what the committee did. I mean, that's our baby. That's what we do. We draft it and we present the final. But if there was a minority of people that wanted to continue the fight, then you submit these things called minority reports. And we did. We had a signing and everything. I got a picture of me and Josh Fox signing these minority reports. I got to be the first signature on my amendment that didn't pass, which was scrap the cap. So we were all excited about this. We needed 46 signatures. We got way more than 46 signatures because there's 70 of us. And we all just signed it and we gave it to the campaign, and we were, going to see what they were going to, and it's up to them to file them. And Bernie decided not to. That's his call. It's his campaign.
Wow.
Yeah. And then let me real quick about the final amendment. I was told that the final amendment was going to say, like I said in my thing, that I thought it was going to say Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. And what they were going to do was they were going to go through different parts of the platform and replace the language where it said the Democrats were. And anyways, what happened was they put this thing up there and it didn't say Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. It just said Hillary Clinton and the Democrats in all these little sections. And then at the end they go, and oh, by the way, thank you, Bernie Sanders, for the 13 million people, blah, blah, blah. And when they were going through it, they were like shushing us, because I was like, wait a minute, that's not what they told me like a half hour ago, because they wanted me to speak on unity. And I said, I can't. I'm okay with these unity amendments, but I can't speak about total unity. And anyways, it was awful. We were totally blindsided. And I knew that we were blindsided as soon as Nina Turner got up there and was in the middle of the mix. and the chairman actually gave them a time to work it out. That was totally outside of the rules because he knew that this was hot and that we were pissed. And then they withdrew the amendment because we were like totally blindsided. So they wanted to put her in the platform as the nominee before the convention, and the platform does not determine the nominee.
Well, it's staggering when you consider that that's even an amendment. When we talk about your amendment, something of substance and impact to the public at large, and then this strange cosmetic narcissism at the end, we insist on inserting her name. It's just grotesque.
Yeah, it was like 3 or 4 amendments that were already written into the platform that maybe we said something about Democrats believe. And they wanted to change that wording to Hillary Clinton and the Democrats believe.
Wow.
I could send you guys if you want. I mean, I have a picture of it, and you can kind of read what it said. And it just,
please.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Thank you.
Can't wait to go to Philly.
If anything, it separates her from the Democrats, which I suppose might be a nice thing.
Interesting.
It was horrible, though.
Certainly not a Democrat.
No.
Yeah.
I believe it and feel it. I saw and felt your emotion when you made that first one about the unity, quote unquote, amendment. I felt it. And hearing about it brings it home.
And I just want to add one last thing, too, is that the Hillary folks, they were chastised or scolded if they did not vote properly. Okay, that did not happen to us, but it did happen to them. I know a Muslim woman that wanted to vote for our Palestinian pro-Palestinian. It was very, like humanist language, like you guys have a right to live kind of thing. And we lost on these 2 amendments. And this Muslim woman who's a Hillary supporter, she voted for the amendment with us. And she actually got scolded and told that you will never get anywhere in the Democratic Party. And why are you sitting and talking to these Bernie people?
Did you witness that?
No, she told me the next morning. I met her and hugged her. She was so sweet, just such a very nice person.